Well, as the seasons change, plants and animals in Wisconsin have to adapt. The study of how plants and animals so precisely adapt to seasonal change is called phenology.
Aldo Leopold started keeping detailed phenology records in the 1930s, and the Aldo Leopold Foundation continues to keep those records today. The foundation shares that information every year by producing a phenology calendar that highlights when hundreds of events in nature are expected to occur. Stan Temple is a professor emeritus in conservation at UW-Madison and a senior fellow at the Aldo Leopold Foundation. Stan, it's so good to see you again.
Welcome back
to Live at 4.
Thank you for inviting me back to talk about phenology.
Yes, it's very interesting. Tell us what the study of phenology involves.
Well, it's something that human beings have probably been doing as long as we've been human beings. That is keeping track of the changing seasons by observing the changes that are happening in nature. And phenology as a science, as a study, keeps track of when certain events in nature, like the blooming of plants or the comings and goings of migratory birds, when those things happen during the year. And they're particularly focused on when the first event of the year happens. So when you see that first flower blooming, when you see that first bird arriving in your yard, those are the things that phenologists keep track of. And Aldo Leopold was a passionate follower of phenology. He kept track of over 300 events. And the Aldo Leopold Foundation continues that tradition today.
So what do we learn from studying this?
Well, it's very interesting to see how all these species of plants and animals around us have adapted to the seasons. And of course, in Wisconsin, we not only have the changing seasons to deal with, but changing weather, and how plants and animals manage to precisely time their seasonal events so that they're arriving, if you're a migratory bird, at the right time, so that you're giving birth to your young at the right time, is really very precise. So the calendar that we produce every year gives you a chance day by day throughout the year to anticipate or know ahead of time what event is likely to be happening at that particular day.
So even with everything changing, and it's been as challenging for humans as it is, for the animals, all species, they adapt. Or is it more challenging for some species than others?
Well, what we're finding as the climate in Wisconsin is changing is that some species are adapting very nicely, and they're adjusting their seasonal events so that they match our changing climate. But there are other species that unfortunately are not quite as good at adapting to these rapid changes that we're experiencing now. And those species are, of course, going to be at a disadvantage.
I assume we're seeing birds and plants and animals that we haven't seen before because of the climate change.
Well, that's also true. Animals, in particular, because they're mobile, can actually shift their geographic distribution in response to the changing climate. So absolutely, we're seeing especially very mobile animals like birds showing up in Wisconsin that used to be further to the south.
It's a fascinating calendar.
Is this why we see robins stand, in the middle of winter sometimes, or late in the winter?
That's exactly right, Susan. For a lot of birds that formerly left Wisconsin during the winter, our winters have become milder and milder, so they're now staying throughout the year. And that's why, for example, robins they still do come back in large numbers in the spring, but they're no longer that reliable harbinger of spring that they used to be. They're here year-round.
It is a fascinating calendar. I couldn't put it down, so I think it's a perfect gift for any Wisconsinite. Stan, thanks for being with us today.
We hope people will enjoy it. It can be ordered from the Aldo Leopold Foundation at aldoleopold.org.
All right. Thanks again, Stan.
You're welcome. Stan, great to see you. Thank you so much. Stay well. And as Stan just mentioned, the 2021 phenology calendars, they cost $15, and you can order one online at aldoleopold.org. Like you said, Mark, it's a great holiday gift.
Yeah, it really is.